This is going to be a quick video going over a new app I made called Realtime Alarms. The purpose of the app is to give you your classic alarm console within SkySpark. So I'll jump straight into it. We've got two tiles or two views here, alarm console and alarm creator. Alarm console is going to be where you see all of your acknowledged in alarm or inhibited alarms going off, and you can acknowledge them or delete them. Alarm creator over here will be where you spend the most time. You're going to be creating your alarms here. So I will show you a quick way of creating alarms. The way we're doing it in SkySpark is we're utilizing a SkySpark feature called cur rules. Cur rules allow you to set the cur value of a point via a function, right? Using a function, which is actually really nice. So we can create points and have cur vals be the alarms, right? So if it's true, it's an alarm. If it's false, it's not an alarm. And so that's the idea. So say you needed an alarm point for your VAVs in which it shows, hey, your zone temp is 5 degrees away from your set point for like 15 minutes. That should be an alarm, right? So we'll go that route. So we'll start with VAVs down here. So what you're going to do is you're going to select the equip that you want the point to be under. So VAV in this example, I'll hit new, and we'll have a lot of things to fill out. So display name, classic SkySpark, give it a display name that makes sense, right? So I'll say zone temp versus set point. You can now set the inhibit time. How long do you want to wait before it alarms? Right here, you can set that. So I will do something really quick. We'll do 10 seconds. I just want to make sure we can show it as an example, right? You do something like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, a couple minutes, however long you need. And now we've got a calculation here. Now I'm going to just write out something and I'll explain it here shortly. So 1, 2 is greater than 5. Okay, so this is gonna be the description of the calculation I just set. So this would be zone temp, the delta. Let's do that. The delta between zone temp and SP is greater than 5. Yeah, okay. So the delta between zone temp and SP is greater than 5. We'll press OK to that. And you can see it sets a record for us. Now this record is tied to your VAV here. So if you select AHU, record seemingly goes away. But if you go back to VAV, you do have an alarm record for the VAVs. Okay, so I'm going to select this and you can see other things populate now. First and foremost, you've got your available points to add to this record, right? So we're going to need 2 points for this example, zone temp and zone temp set point. We'll also go ahead and add the occupied point, right, for the sake of the example. So the zone temp versus the set point during occupied hours. We've got a second one. This second tile shows what points are currently on the record. No points added to record currently. We've got a third tile over here, which shows you your available quips in the station that you're working in, right? In this case, we've got 2 VAVs in this database. Right now, I don't have anything here, so this isn't going to work yet because we don't have any points added, so our calculation is not going to be able to be tested. But this bottom tile is going to show you what your calculation looks like. All right, so let's get started. So we've got our record. Let's add some points to it. I'm going to add a temp air set point and a temp sensor air point. Add. I'm just going to refresh right here. Boop. And you can see they're added. Now I need an occupied point, but I can't seem to find an occupied point in our list of tags, right? So if you look around, you're not going to find every single tag under the sun, and sometimes you'll need some special tags. So you can do it through your filter here. So your filter, you could say occupied. We'll say hyphen, just like the format of our points there. We'll say site point, and maybe SP, I think. Maybe not SP. Let's see. In our builder, we can see an example of a site point, right? So I'll show what we're going to try to target. Occupancy, SP. So they do have one there. All right, so I'll press enter after this filter, and you can see it gives us a point for that. So I can select it and say add to rule. All right, perfect. Now there's something to note here. For rules, usually in SkySpark, you will bind certain points using their tags, and you'll make sure the point's under some piece of equipment or some site, right? That's usually how rules work. And so using this, you need to define a scope for the points. So the first two, temp air set point and temp sensor air point, will be under the VAV. And what do I mean by that? I mean, if I go to the builder, I'm going to go to headquarters, floor 1, VAV1, you're going to see a zone temp and a zone temp set point under the VAV. The occupied point, though, is going to be inside the miscellaneous folder, and this is for the full site, right? So it's not going to be under the VAV. So I need to define that here in the alarm creator. I'm going to select the point, occupied. This is not going to be for VAV. This is going to be for the site. So select this. I'm going to change the scope. I'm going to change it to site. Press OK. All right. And so if you see that, that's good. Hit refresh. Now, if you hit the eye on your rule, you should see your points in the points grid, and you should see site for scope. That's good. All right. Now we can go ahead and test out a calculation, which is pretty nice. So I'll go over here to the right. We have VAV1B selected, and in 1 is going to be your first point, so the temp air set point. In 2 will be your second point, temp sensor air point. And in 3 will be your third point, and so on and so on. If you have 400 points, 400 ends, right? That's how you're going to create your calculation. So in this case, I'll say absolute value, and I'll say in1 minus in2 is greater than 2. Say enter, and you can see the calculation. Calculation works. It says 73, that's the set point. 70.5, that's the sensor. If the difference between those, is it greater than 2? Yes, it is. So if you want to test out a specific calculation for your alarm, this is the place to do it. Now, I would also maybe want to know, hey, is it occupied currently? So let's say and in 3. In 3 is going to be, right, occupied points are going to be Booleans. And so I could just say in 3 right here. We need a capital I. Press enter. And you can see false. Let's press enter again. Let's keep going. Let's see if it ever goes occupied. Hopefully it would eventually. This is the demo database. You can see now true. So your end result here, this is going to be, is it an alarm or is it not an alarm? Okay. So now we've tested that, and that looks pretty good. I'm going to just go ahead and copy that part, and we're going to add that to our calculation. And in 3. I'm going to change from 5 to like a 2. Well, actually, let's do like a 1. I want to make sure we can see alarms for this example. So we're going to change it to a 1. Of course, in real life, that would be pretty crazy. So press OK. All right. Now, let's go ahead and add this. Let's go ahead and apply/update this rule. Boom. All right. You see we have like an added tag that was just added, which is pretty nice. I can now refresh the browser, of course. And I'm going to show you around the database now. So just after adding that, we have now created 2 points, one for each VAV. That's going to be the name of your rule. So zone temp versus set point, zone temp versus set point, zone temp versus set point, right? We're going to also have let's wait for it. Let's see. Okay, I was worried for a second, but you're also going to have, if you wait a second after applying, you'll have a cur status of OK and a cur val of some value and a cur source of the rule that was created. So you'll have these 2 records created. And then if we go to the rule app, you're going to see we've got a, let's see if we can find it, cur zone temp versus set point right here. So this is your cur rule that's generated and giving a cur val to those 2 points. Okay. Also, a function's created for you for that cur rule. So if I go to cur rules, you're going to see zone temp v set point, and here is the function created for you. Okay. So this is essentially all the stuff that happens behind the scenes when you hit apply the rule. Now we can also check the alarm console. Do we have alarms? Because there's a task that's running to check to see if we do, and it looks like we do. Look at that. Delta between zone temp and set point is greater than 5. Let's acknowledge this. So you can see it's acknowledged now. Soon it will go back into inhibited, so you can see it's gone now. We can keep refreshing, and maybe it'll come back into alarm. So if it ends up being true for more than 10 seconds, because my inhibit time is 10 seconds, it'll go into alarm again. Okay? Or it'll go away. But it did come back into alarm. So that's kind of the whole idea. So your inhibit time controls how long it takes before it actually is read and in alarm. You can check to see if any alarms are inhibited, if they're being checked over and over again to see if they're going to be in alarm soon. You can see any acknowledged alarms as well through the filter. Now let's go back to the alarm creator. You do have the ability as well to add a Spark rule to those, right? So that you can get the historical values of when it was true, when it was false, kind of thing. So you can see when of all the times was it actually true. So you can create a Spark rule immediately, right? Spark rule added, tag was added. We can check that out. If we go to both the function and the rule app, we're going to go to the rule app first and see Spark, zone temp versus set point right there. Right, pretty cool. Now, one more thing to note is, of course, you can delete any parts of these records. So if you want to delete just the Spark rule, just the cur rule, the alarm points, the alarm records, the alarm, or all of it, you can do that by hitting true and deleting. In this case, I'll show, actually, I'll keep for now. I'll keep all of them. But you can delete any specific part of this at any specific time. Okay? So in this case, I had nothing selected, so it didn't actually delete anything. One more thing you can do. With rules in SkySpark, we have tuning parameters, right? These tuning parameters will say, hey, for this VAV, I want to make sure I'm checking that it's greater than 3. For this VAV, I want to make sure it's checking for it's greater than 5, right? The two different variants for the calculation. And in that case, you can do that. So if I hit add tuning, you can see we've got a little prompt come up. You can name your tuning parameter. I'm just going to name it tune. I'm just going to keep it tune. And you can have a default value. In this case, I'll set it to 1, and then we'll change it later, right? So I'm going to set it to 1. You can set it to 5, whatever your default value is going to be. I'll say OK. So now you see we've got a tuning added right here. Now, you can use this in your calculation to test it. So how would that work? So you could say, select VAV 1B. Let's use N1, N2. Remember, this is set point. This is the sensor. And let's see if it's greater than tune. It is. And you can see it fills in that 1. Remember, the default value is 1, so it fills that in for us. So this is how you'd actually use this. So if I select our calculation, we could say, instead of 1, let's say tune. Let's put parentheses around this whole thing just to make it seem a bit more, make more sense. So we want to make sure this is true and this is true, right? I'll say okay to that. And I just updated it. So let's update the rule. Now let's go look at our function that was created. We looked at it before. Let's go look at it again. Code, cur, zone temp versus set point. And so you can see it actually adds, look at this, a bind tuning parameter, and it's now utilizing that tune here. So what's great is you could use this as any bind tuning by going to the rule app, tuning tab, selecting new, and making a new tuning. So rule ref, select your rule that we've got. Spark, we want cur, zone temp versus set point. You could have a filter on it. You could do a specific record. So target ref, we want VAV 1B to be different. And I'm going to add a tag, and I'm just going to say tune : and I'm going to make the tune : I'll make it 5 for VAV 1B. Right? Press OK to that. Okay. And now we can go back to the alarm console. We can acknowledge 1B, acknowledge 1A, and should see these go to inhibited shortly. 1B still here. It looks like it's not triggering for 1B very often. Why? Because we just changed it to a higher amount, right? But 1A should be coming here shortly. We'll see. It's going to take a second to find. There's 1B. 1B actually did get triggered for that amount of time. So you can see that you can change these. Let's change that a little bit more. Let's make it like 20, right? Just for the sake of it, for the example. Okay. Let's acknowledge. Okay. And let's acknowledge 1A as well, because 1A came back. All right. So 1B probably shouldn't be triggered very often, because it's not going to be very often that the difference between the zone temp and the set point is 20. But, so you can see 1A has come back, 1B is not going away anymore. So that's kind of the idea of the tuning parameter. All right, I think that shows it. Now I'm going to go through, I'm just going to delete the records. So I'm just going to delete all of this. Delete all, true, say okay, and everything's gone. Everything. So if you do a delete all, it's going to delete your alarms. It's going to delete the functions. It's going to delete everything that was created before this to set that up. So the Spark rule's gone, the cur rule's gone, the rule records are gone, everything's gone. So that's the idea of the alarm console and alarm creator view. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, that's it for now. Okay. All right. Bye.